He's a blood. He's a blood.
I'm leaving this in.
The blood with the stripe.
Absolutely leaving that in. All right. Hey, gamers. This is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I am here kicking it on Skype with my friend and a friend of the gaming hobby in general, Richard Simpson of the We're Not Wizards gaming podcast. You want to say anything about your podcast?
No. No, there's too much out there. I don't know. I hate doing this. I'm not a kind of a, yeah, I tell you what, we're just an interview podcast and we're going out and about and we're just speaking to people left, right and centre and it's fun and you have to join in and we get lots of guests and we get lots of, and Liz has been on the show and we've had more disappointing people like Mike DeLisio. He's been on the show. He's a disappointment. And yeah.
I'm so glad that you have it right on that score.
Well, it's just like levels of things. Levels. See, this is video. You shouldn't let me do video. This is why we do audio.
Oh,
no. Why we do video.
I'm all about this. So
this is just like... I'm all about that bass.
So what are you doing to entertain yourself in this great time indoors?
Well, because I'm working at home, and you can't see in the video, I no longer have to wear trousers. So that's quite good. I'll just be walking about, feeling the breeze. As a grown 45-year-old man should.
Well, I'll be real. I haven't put on real pants in like 2 or 3 days. Like, I wear pajama pants around the house, but
just like that.
Yeah.
You're lucky if I'm changing my underwear just now, because I'm just like, I can smell. And my view is like, we're talking about distancing ourselves from people and, isolation and stuff.
Yeah.
And all I'm just saying is, like, if I'm going to, like, say, the mall or the store, if I'm using American terms because I'd say supermarket, and I'm stocking up on all the toilet roll I can get my hands on, I want to keep people away from me. So there's 2 ways to keep people away from me.
Right.
I can gently smell of urine, which I'm comfortable with. Or I can just like go, when I get into the middle of a crowd, I can just go, oh, I'm such a fever. And just watch
watch them scatter.
Watch them kind of scatter. So that kind of thing. So that's kind of nice. The relaxing wise, do you know what? I have been gently catching up on all those little bits of TV that I've meant to be catching up and doing all those little DIY jobs around the house.
Ooh.
The ones where it's like the coat, the hat, the rack where we hang the coats up. It's like a wooden board and it's got like 4 of those metal kind of coat hooks on it.
Yeah.
And because we put lots of coats on it, and you don't take coats off, it starts to move a bit. It starts to get a little bit sugary. So I fixed that.
That's fair.
I fixed it. I put some raw plugs in the wall, and I made it so it's steady and strong. What else? I got a new clock for the room, big one. So I've put that up on the wall. I was starting to edge my lawn. It's like... I don't know about you, Liz, but when I was thinking about the apocalypse appearing, I didn't think it would be DIY and chores.
Yeah, I think my kitchen is cleaner than it's ever been. It's like, because wait, I have time to wipe the counters down, and I'm not like exhausted, ready to go to bed right now. Like, ooh, everything smells like citrusy in here. We'll have to keep you out of my apartment.
I'm so clean. I can't even talk about it. I'm showering. At least more than once a week now. I've got that kind of, that lovely kind of, I'm just washing my clothes in the shower with me, so I smell the same way. I'm just trying to save my resources.
Perfect.
Which is great. You just got to watch the fabric softener because it wrecks my hair, makes it all frizzy, as you can see, and I've not got an awful lot of hair to not be frizzy. So
you could just call it volume.
I remember volume. I remember volume was a thing that used to happen to my hair, and now it's just shiny, reflective kind of like, which is why I was conscious of, appearing on camera, because I have generally a face for podcasting. So I did have my super. I stole this from my son. Which is interesting because we originally stole it from somewhere else. I thought, but then I realized it makes my head look really, really big. It's like the first episode of Star Trek: The Cage, with the guys with the big blue heads that were kind of making all the illusions. Can you imagine how different that episode would be?
Hey, at least you have a red hat
really big,
and not a red shirt.
Googly eyes. I can put it on backwards. There you go. I was gonna wear. I had other hats. I'm not. I've got cushion. I've got a red cushion. That doesn't work. There we go. Perfect. Balance.
So, have you been playing video games in your isolation yet?
I kind of not. I'm kind of working from home, so I'm not officially kind of isolated. But it does mean that you're kind of like. I was used to kind of like going, yeah, can't wait till Friday, go to the board game club, and then I'm like, oh, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But I've been catching up on a couple of video games. I've been going back into Dark Souls 2.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's too hard for me.
I'm a big Dark Souls 2 fan. I've got all of them. I've got that. I've got Dark Souls. I've got Dark Souls 3. I've got Dark Souls 4 Dark Faster. I've got Dark Souls 5 Tokyo Drift.
So I have a question for you then. So if you're playing Dark Souls, that means that you must like your video games to be really difficult, like in a technical way? No. So what's the appeal of it for you? Because that's all I ever hear about it. It's one of the reasons I've never played it, because it just sounded miserable, like more work than my actual job.
No, it's not difficult. It requires a lot of skill. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, it requires you being open to learning something and not forcing your way through something. Because there's a lot of video games you can play, whereas if you just get the biggest armor, the biggest weapons, then you can just basically bash your way through something. You can floor that big bad guy. Whereas in Dark Souls, there's people that actually do runs where they've got like no armor at all, and they've got like a level 1 character, and they do the entire game, and it's all dark. The thing about Dark Souls is it's unforgiving as long as you are not willing to learn. If you're not willing to change, if you think you're just going to do the same thing again and again and again, which is why it has this lovely mechanic where you have the option to reset a level at any time. If I don't like how things going, I can go and hit a bonfire, which is just generally like your waypoints where you start. And if you rest at a bonfire, it resets the entire level, and all the enemies respawn and stuff like that. So it gives you the ability, if you want to just do big slogs, build up your character, you can do that. But you also get some people that run from bonfire to bonfire. You don't have to fight every enemy, which is a big thing.
Interesting.
So I like it. I kind of really like it. Dark Souls isn't. It's a controversial opinion, and this is when the haters are. Dark Souls gets bad after the second half. People say it's a masterpiece. It's not. After the second half, it gets dull. There's a certain point in the game where I think they kind of got to the point they're rushing a bit to finish it.
You mean like Game of Thrones?
Yeah, dragons and stuff. Bad idea. So Dark Souls, not that bad. It's not difficult. It takes time and you got to learn, but it's not. It's very, very good at what it does. It's like it's a very good teacher. So it's like, yeah.
So it's good to hear your opinion on this, because before you were a board game reviewer and before you did your amazing non-magical at all, I promise, board game podcast, you reviewed video games.
I can hear the sarcasm. I did, yeah.
Magic.
Magic.
So when you review video games, did you... I don't know a whole lot about this part of your life. Did you do it professionally? Was it something that you did the way that you do board games now? Like,
no, it was. I've maintained one thing. I've maintained through my life is being mediocre and amateur at everything that I do. So
I support that.
I've never ever reached a professional level at any point in my life, and I've embraced that. And I did that with video games. And the thing with video games is when you get into video game reviewing, and it's kind of like it's kind of like any reviewing. You want to review the kind of the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
You want to review the top level. You want to review the Dark Souls of video games. You want to review the best that's coming out. You know, your God of Wars and Witchers and everything like that, because you want to be saying, yeah, this is fantastic. It's a 9. I want Super Mario Galaxy with my hat and everything like that. But what I found after a while was there was two things I like to do, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I like to write opinion pieces because, like everybody else, I think my opinion is important.
Yeah, you know I love my own opinions. I'm a reviewer too, so...
Exactly. So, I mean, there isn't any other opinions. Mine...
All other opinions
my
exist to
opinion
make
is
my
number one.
opinion look good. Right?
Exactly. My opinion is number one. Everybody else's opinion is 2 or lower.
Just window dressing.
That's how you go. Exactly. But then, exactly. Anyone, IGN, I'll take them all on. You know what I mean? How difficult is it to do a video where oh, look at us with our Doritos, page shells. But anyway, they're not. They are. But they're not. But they are. But anyway, let's face it. If you're dealing with a big, huge multinational company, a video game player, and you say their game's rubbish, do you think they're going to send you another game?
No.
So you always end up saying they're quite good. So, but the other thing I like to do when I was reviewing games is I like games that are 6s and 7s. I love games that are 4s and 5s. I adore games that are 3s and 2s because there's
something to say.
So much more. Yeah, there's some. They've got, because when you've got a benchmark, like, and this is me going outside the camera. I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. When you got a benchmark for how good something is, yeah. For you to make something and for it to be so mediocre and terrible, at some point you still think that it's worthwhile putting out there. There's a certain courage to that I respect.
So you must have a lot of respect for Kickstarter.
Wow. That's quite bad. Wow, did you go there?
I did.
Are you actually going on record on video and saying that all Kickstarters are terrible?
No, I'm not saying all Kickstarters are terrible. I'm saying a lot of Kickstarters are mediocre. And I think that that's true of a lot of board games. I think that most games that I review are fine. I do not think that most games that I review are great or even good. I've been on a good stretch recently because I went back to the Oniverse. I think those are all good. It's really nice to just review a string of good games because they're just not all like that.
But I like reviewing bad video games, like the same way that I like to have bad guests on the show.
See, this is why I'm really your best guest ever.
No, it's not that. That's a bad thing. I don't get bad guests. There's only ever a bad host. You never get a bad guest. If a guest sounds terrible, it's because I'm rubbish, basically, and I've not found out the best way to do it. But the good thing about video games and the good thing about the mediocre to the terrible video games is you can really ham it up and go to town on your review. I mean, you can read like, say, 10 reviews of The Witcher 3, and they all very kind of follow the same kind of thing. You know, there's not merely a massive kind of detour from the main line and the main message. But it's when you get games which do some things which some people consider good and other people consider terrible. It's when you get slight differences of opinion that I really like. You know, and and sometimes I'll not be terrible and bad about a game. If a game's really bad and terrible, then I'll tell people because they deserve to kind of know. But I think with board game stuff, I think we're so 7 at the moment.
We are. I see a lot of 6s and 7s in my life.
we're so seven, as in, and I also think people aren't willing to say something's rubbish. I think there's very few people that will come out and say that's a definite 4, that's a definite 5. But do we get that? Do we get that? Because
I have a 5 coming out this week on Dice Tower.
Really?
But it's middling. It's a game that works, but it's not that interesting. And like maybe if you really like the theme, you'll like it. It's a 5.
I hate that. I hate that phrase. I hate the kind of I don't like it, but if you like that kind of genre, then you might like it.
No. I literally mean, well, you'll see. You have to actually like the theme of the game, because the game itself isn't very good, but you have to be attached to the subject matter to like the game.
What theme is it? Can I guess? Is it pancake making?
Yes.
No.
I knew it! Of course.
So, do you know what I mean? It's Batman and Lego Batman. Yeah, first time.
But actually, one thing I think is really interesting is that we have a community that gives us mixed messages as reviewers too. So people can watch this like video. I'm going to lose like 100 subscribers over this video. But so I actually have had really good feedback on my reviews. It's either, if it's critical, it's useful. Typically, I don't usually get comments that are just crap. Or people are supportive, and it makes me feel encouraged to keep going. But in general, like if you're like in the forums of Board Game Geek, so like not actually my personal experience, I'm happy to say for the most part, I feel like there's a sort of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing, where if you don't ever go negative, you're a shill. But if you do go negative, it's because you have bad taste and you're beating up on some poor designer, because inevitably you'll bash something that someone likes. And
I think I like beating up on designers, because generally a lot of them don't get outside, and I'm usually stronger than them. So if they come after me, I can push them over. I mean, I'm just saying.
That's fair.
Just general. Just there you go. Just take that. I'll fight. It's easier to fight designers, because this is the truth. Okay, the difference between video game designers and board game designers is there's usually more video game designers.
Right.
Like board game designers, so you're usually looking at teams of 1 or 2.
But the video game designers are so tired.
Yeah, but there's more of them. It's like that whole thing is like, would you rather fight, kind of like, 27-year-olds or 7 20-year-olds? It's that kind of thing. You're not going to come. But I'm just saying, like, video game, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I'm just saying that video game people, there's generally a lot more of them. So if you go and pick a fight with somebody in their video game company, there's a good chance maybe 10 or 15 people are going to rock up. And they might be tired, but there's still 10 or 15 people. Whereas you can actually go and fight board game designers. I don't know where I'm going with this. And, there's usually only 2 or 3. I mean, really. I mean, they're generally quite a lean type team. I mean, you occasionally get like, you occasionally get bigger people. Like I've met like, say, David Turtsey, and he seems like he could probably take somebody quite well. And then, thank goodness, you've also got like Mark Cook from Hush Hush Products, who's the CEO. I mean, he would just pick you up and just put you on various shelves if he didn't like you. I think Bez she'd be pretty handy in a fight. I think she's quite flexible and moves about quite quickly. I think she could.
Well, didn't she design Yogi?
Ass. Exactly. Do you want to mess with somebody like that? With somebody, they'd be like, smack.
Also, she could lay waste to me with her words. All those word games.
So there you go. So what we're saying is, so fighting board game designers is fine if they don't agree with your opinion. So that's good. So hit this up, because we're entering into the apocalypse, so we might as well bring the kind of the Mad Max level type of violence.
All right, I'll go put on my impractical boob armor and like some little fur accessories.
Just don't make sure you jog. It's just not gonna happen.
But it's actually fun to talk to you too, because like I really enjoy the act of reviewing something, and it's and you're right, I actually do like, even if the game is not good, I think reviewing it gives me a better understanding of what I think is good and what I want in a game. Like, I think I get more articulate about and particular about games as years go by of reviewing, because it's like the more you do it, you've seen more games, you have more points of comparison, and I think it's a really enriching experience for me as a gamer to take the time to actually review games. It makes my play experience better.
I think the only thing I see, and I see this again and again, is the fear to actually critique the parts of a game that somebody doesn't like. I see an awful lot of reviews which seem to talk about, and you'll enjoy this bit, and I enjoyed this bit, and I enjoyed that bit. And I think it can be difficult. It's the whole thing is the difficulty of, if you know that you could be speaking to this person again, or meeting with this person, or continuing to interact with this person, it can be difficult for you to say, well, I didn't like that bit. But surprisingly enough, in the reviews that I've done recently, especially for Kickstarter ones, where I brought up stuff which I didn't think really worked, the feedback that I had was, well, this is really valuable to me, because this is me putting out my commercial product now, and it's still not too late for me to make changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is, like, they're saying, well, you're the first person to mention this when I've had it previewed. And it's like, well, because I still treat a Kickstarter preview as like a critique piece. And I know that there's a lot of Kickstarter previews out there, which kind of puts me off doing Kickstarter previews, because I feel like you're kicking a puppy.
I have really slowed down on them. I've really slowed down. I only, at this point, have been I'm kind of reaching the end of doing them, even as like just something that I feel like I should do for a designer I generally like, and I'm trying to only go from this point for projects that I'm really excited about. So I took By Stealth and Sea, a David Thompson game. David Thompson has never disappointed me, and I literally just wanted to be one of the first people to play that game, and I did not regret that choice. But I'm trying to get to the point where I'm not taking Kickstarters that I don't really believe in, and I've never taken one that I thought was garbage. Like, I've had a couple that I didn't want, and I sent them back rather than make a video. Every Kickstarter preview that I've done is for a game that I thought was good, you know? But
yeah,
I don't even want to do that anymore, to be honest. I just really prefer to review, and I like to do tutorials. You know, I'm a teacher. It's my nature. Like, I want to teach people games and make them more accessible. But I think also being a teacher also does affect the way that I criticize, though, because even when I kind of take a dump on a game, I never... Like, if you read that review of Guy Fieri's restaurant in Times Square, where he just asked all these questions that are just really horrible, like, why do the marshmallows taste like fish? You know, just it's like the best takedown I've ever read. I laugh so hard, but my own reviews never look like that. I actually do try to see a couple of good things in a game, even if I don't like it, and then say that there are things that I don't like, but I'll always say what I don't like. I usually lead with the good, then say something bad if I have something bad to say, and then I'm like, but maybe this would have a place in your collection if this, or I really can't recommend this, but I appreciate the effort in this area. And I think that the reason I do that is because I'm a teacher. I mean, I criticize my students' writing all the time, but it's like that little sandwich of like, I see the good in you. Here's the problem. Here's some sort of hopeful message, as hopeful as possible, based on what you've given me. And I prefer to do it that way.
It's Darth Vader criticism, isn't it? You start off good,
you
then turn bad, and then at the end there's the redemption.
But sometimes it's not that redeeming, but like a little bit.
Yeah, I
like, I'm never going to tell you that something's good if it's not good. Like, it's not going to happen. So,
see, my issue with the way I'm writing reviews is I write the way that I write is I write it to kind of entertain as well as review. So I'm always conscious of I'm very conscious of a couple of things. I'm very conscious that the reviewer market is a crowded market.
It is.
And I saw that today. I saw I'll give you an example. I saw I think it was Sam from Gamelin going onto Facebook and saying, right, okay, we're looking at reviewers for Tiny Epic Tactics, and I've got that game. I mean, I but I was playing over Christmas and stuff like that, and
Is it good?
I had a bit of fun with it.
Ooh, look at that
I'll
face.
get onto that.
It has good parts. There are
I'll
good
get
things.
onto that.
It has summer qualities.
If you're a big fan of the genre, no.
See, I
anyway,
am
my
a big
point
fan of
was
the genre. I love tactical stuff.
See, if you like your Final Fantasy Tactics stuff.
Oh my god, yeah, it's my favorite game ever.
I'm gonna get round to this.
Yes.
I'm gonna get round to this. My point was that Sam put up this post saying, "Would you be interested in having a review copy?" There's literally 47 comments on there from so many different people looking to do write-ups up on it, and then you look at the write-ups, and the write-ups are very, very kind of basic. Mm-hmm. And when I do a review, I am self-indulgent. I think that I'm self-indulgent. I think that I'm an entertaining writer. I'm very conscious that I've started recording the reviews that I do as well and putting them out as podcasts. So part of it, I'm thinking about, well, is this going to come across? I kind of write the way I speak, which means when it comes to me turning the reviews into audio reviews, they work quite well. They kind of flow quite well because I just go nah, 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 nah. But I'm also conscious of I sometimes have taken paragraphs before I got into a game because I just like to enjoy writing. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily on a deadline where I'm thinking I've got to write about this and I better stick out kind of like 200 or 300 words in order to fulfill my obligation. Right. I'm just like writing stuff because I really, really enjoy kind of writing for it. So there's that. I kind of like doing that. I kind of enjoy that. So and sometimes I'll get into a mood. It's really weird. The reviewing kind of things is there's two sides to the reviewing. There's the actual playing the game. Mm-hmm. And then there's the gusto for getting to create the content about the game, which can be a chore in itself. I don't know if you ever get kind of like video block where you're just sitting there going, this isn't going to... I cannot find the first... For me, it's the first sentence. If I'm writing the first sentence, and once I get past the first sentence, then the rest of it will kind of flow.
For me, the issue is if I'm not in the mood to film, I feel really cranky until I get in the groove. Like sometimes I just kind of put it off a little bit. I mean, I always get there, but you know what? I actually don't script anything. Like my Dice Tower reviews that I do, I'm just talking. So basically, I just talk at the camera for like probably like a time and a half of the time you actually see, and then I just cut the parts where I'm going like, and then thinking about it. Like that's literally it. I just talk because. Maybe that's stupid, but that's just what I do. If I script it at all, it's that when I play the games, I take notes about like things I liked, things I didn't like. I distill it down into some bullet points, so I already kind of know what I'm going to say, and then I just go back, and that's just how I do it. I don't know. I with my written reviews, like I really admire people who riff a lot when they write, and they have these really fun and entertaining writing styles. Because I actually feel like my writing style isn't that. I feel like I'm a very business-like person in my reviews, I think. Yeah. One thing that I did for mine is I completely cut the rules explanation stuff because I hate that in reviews. Yeah. If I want to know the rules, I'll watch a playthrough or read a rule book. That's what that's for. That's not what the review's for. So I try to really like cut to the chase of like what is the solo mode like, so you know what you're getting. Especially because solo players care a lot about is it true solo, is it multi-hand, you know, how do you do it? Yeah. And then I just do like overall thoughts where I talk about the good and bad points of it, and then I sum it up with do I recommend it or not. But I'm very like that makes total sense. Bam, bam, bam. Like let's get through it. I want it to be. I mean, I want my writing to be entertaining. I don't want you to hate reading what I write, but I also really like to like hit the point. Like in regular life, I'm a total chatterbox. I will talk forever. I don't think I've shut up since I learned how to talk. But in my writing, I actually like to keep it really tight. I think it's probably because my parents are both former journalists. All right. So, you know, when I was little, my mom used to read stuff that I wrote, and it was always shorter, cut it. And so I try for writing that has very little bloat, just because that's my personal style. And I don't know if people like that or not, but it's what you get, I guess. So...
yeah, I mean, there's two sides. I mean, when I'm recording the podcast, there's no structure to it whatsoever. You know, everybody will guess that. There's absolutely no structure. It just goes where it goes. And then at some point, we'll like talk about what we're meant to talk about, and then it'll finish. Whereas the writing side of things, I can write quite quickly, but I generally, I don't think I could just do the kind of boom, 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 boom style of writing. I just don't think it doesn't work for me, because I kind of lose interest. And I find when you're writing about the Kickstarter, you do have to do a little bit of a rules explanation, but I'm finding I'm doing it kind of less and less, and I'm talking about the experience of actually learning the game.
Yeah.
Which I think is important, because I think that's really, really important nowadays, is that kind of like, I think it's, when there's such a choice in what you can get to the table, I think it's really, really important to talk about the kind of the learning experience that you have at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I don't want somebody going, oh, you recommended this and you said it was the best game ever. However, it took me 2.5 hours to kind of set up and even get through my first turn, because it was really, really difficult to learn it, you know. So I kind of, that's where it was coming from that. But pulling it right back to Epic Tactics. Epic Tactics is a peculiar game in that the solo mode has 75% more to offer than the solo mode has all these lovely little quests, and you actually get to turn over the pieces and use the dungeon stuff and things like that. So there seems to be more kind of adventures. The tactics stuff, don't get me wrong, it's very, very good and it's very, very fun. And I had a blast when I was playing it. I was playing it over Christmas with my nephew, who just isn't really into board games, and but he is into kind of video games. And I said, okay, well, we'll play this. So we put it up, and the table presence is wonderful. I mean, it is, you're building up like a 3D landscape that you play around, and it's very, very impressive. But then I was noticing there was like all these cards, and I was noticing the inside of the box, and the box is like got little dungeons, and I was like, okay, so what do we do with that? And it turns out you don't seem to use an awful lot of that stuff unless you're doing like the solo player. So I think the solo player version won through. Maybe over the kind of the multiplayer version.
Maybe I'll ask for a review copy of that then.
Maybe you should.
But you know what? I never ask on Facebook, though. Like in those threads, I don't ever want myself to get lost. I always just email direct and like try to have more direct contact with the designer or publisher that I'm working with.
I generally try to not just ask. I'm quite cheeky. Not cheeky. It's like, okay,
you're totally cheeky,
because
but
I'm not. Well, I am.
Extra so now that you're walking around without your pants on.
No. Pray I don't stand up. But no, there was that kind of whole thing about like going back to Sam, and I just put a comment to say, well, we've already got it, so we'd be able to write something, but you'd need to send me one of your dogs. Because I went and clicked on Sam's profile. They've got these huge, beautiful, furry, husky dogs. And I'm like, I'm willing to be a paid shill if being paid is having one of these big, huge dogs being sent to me, kind of thing. But I'll do them all the time. I'll do that. I don't know. I just think you need to be a differentiator. But yeah. But we're in this lucky situation where we're starting to get a little bit of a name. Yeah. So it's easier for me to approach somebody and say, we've reviewed this for this person, and we've had this person on the show, and it gets me a way in. Yeah. I mean, there's not many people who haven't had on the podcast now, but it does give you a kind of a good way. Yeah. It does kind of give you a kind of good way in. But also, let's not be silly here. You don't want to end up with a big, huge pile of review games anyway, because they're really, really difficult to get.
I got too many right now.
Really?
Yeah, but of course, for me, things have really changed since I started doing Dice Tower reviews. I was doing okay.
I wonder when you were going to drop that in.
Well, because I was talking about the ease of getting review copies. I wonder when you were going to drop it in Dice Tower. It's like, proud members of the Dice Tower network. Well, what's interesting is that, so I don't think Tom will mind me talking about this. He's a really cool person, actually, and we had some really good conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I got in touch with him, and I said that, basically, I kind of got tired of doing Board Game Breakfast. I was feeling, like, uninspired, but I wanted to keep doing videos for Dice Tower, because I got on Throw a Punch Lunch, like, forever ago, and my first videos were for that. And so I was thinking, like, oh, I bet I know what he needs. He needs probably more reviewers, because poor Tom is reviewing, like, 8 games a week. And so I just wrote and said, hey, and I wanted to go to more conventions and have a place to, like, sleep that I didn't have to pay for. So I just wrote and said, hey, you know, can we...
What's in it for me?
Yeah. I mean, it's a service, right? I was like, can I just asked if I could, like, write reviews in exchange for, like, being on his booth staff and staying in whatever Airbnb they get at cons that I can go to. That was all I asked for. And he actually does pay me per review video.
Wow.
And I really like that, because for me, that means that I am being paid in the only way that I feel comfortable in this industry, which is by media. So I'm a full-on media reviewer. I got my dream, right? Because, I mean, I'm on record as being somebody who feels really uncomfortable taking money from publishers for their product. Yeah. Because that's advertising to me. So I'm in a situation now where I can do this ethically and make a small... extra income on top of that. It's not a lot, but, you know, I'll take it. Heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's also meant a real change in the review copies that I get. Like, I used to get mostly yeses and then, like, the occasional no or non-response. Lots of non-responses, actually. And now it's so much easier to get review copies, it's almost too easy. And, like, people contact me sometimes. And it's like... It's weird, because at first you're really excited about it, and you're like, yes. And then you're like, wait, no. Because they just pile up.
I always check. It's like, you're sure you're looking for the non-wizard people?
Yeah.
Because I know there's wizard people that do kind of board game reviews. Shall I put you them, you know, in kind of their direction instead? And they go, no, we meant you, and that kind of confuses me. I think the strangest one lately was I got... some stuff sent from Funko, the Funko Pop guy. So I got sent the Jurassic Park one and the Golden Girls one. So I got them through, and I was kind of like, this is weird, because they're like a big they're a multi-million-dollar organization, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll just get this kind of sorted out for you. And I was kind of like, okay, and then nothing happened for a couple of weeks, and I thought, well, I'm not going to chase it, because, you know, it was like, you know, the fact that you even responded to the email, and then they turned up, and I'm just like, okay, so I'm going to kind of look at that. There's the big coughing elephant in the room, which is the current situation regarding, because you're okay. Because you do solo mode.
I do.
So you can sit there, you can say,
This is I was built for this.
I was designed for this apocalypse, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas the other side of it is, if you're trying to review multiplayer games at the moment, I don't even know how you're going to be able to do that.
Tabletop Simulator?
And I'm wondering why people...
But it's not the same thing. Like, you don't know how funny a game is, or how serious or how tense a game is until you've, like... I mean, for solo mode it's different, but when I'm playing with my game group, I want to feel that tension, and I want to feel that interaction more, because that's part of the experience of the game.
There's a tactile... There's something very tactile about holding some physical pieces in the hand, and it gives people... I like to see how people interact with the pieces on the board, if they're picking them up and looking at them or appreciating them, or if they're feeling the quality or rubbing it on their face. Tell them
lick it. I'm kidding.
But
gotta sleeve everything these days.
Exactly. You get that back in 3 days when it passes through.
I'm just gonna get a chess set and put little baggies around the pieces.
It'd just be cutting off the fingers off gloves.
Yeah.
There's another pawn. There's another pawn. There's another pawn. But yeah, so the question is, how are people going to be doing it? Because I think if somebody's going to be spending money on a game, I don't know how I would feel if somebody's... You're buying it for the mechanics. I don't know if you are. People like the cardboard and they like the stuff, so I can appreciate somebody saying, I want to know what it's like on the mechanics. But what happens if it's a pain in the ass to get back in the box?
Yeah.
Or
it's
the
worth knowing.
components aren't fantastic. Or the components aren't fantastic. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's a first world problem, isn't it?
Totally.
How do we review board games?
But I actually love the
board
tactile
games
nature
are
of games too.
more
Like, you know how people complain about Onirim and like they don't like the shuffling? I actually really do like the shuffling. I find it very soothing, like having something to do with my hands. Like, I don't fidget as much as I used to, but when I was really little, I used to be like a leg bouncer. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you're just constantly bouncing your knee, or, you know, I used to fidget with stuff all the time.
I'm doing that now. I'd stand up and show you, but I'm not gonna.
No, don't.
That would be wrong. just get my hat.
That hat was never meant to be used that way, Richard.
I'm just going to reflect on the time I used to be able to wear a hat like that.
Think about what you've done.
Think about what you've said. Anyway, yeah, so that's an issue. I mean, it's kind of really, really funny. It is kind of like, in some ways, this is the board game apocalypse because it's not allowing us to do certain things like get together in groups. I mean, Aircon was at the weekend, and and I made the conscious decision not to go.
Yeah.
I was really, really sad about it, but I couldn't. I'm sitting squint. I'm doing side saddle. I'm like a Victorian lady on a horse. I'm kind of sitting side saddle. But I made the conscious decision not to go to Aircon because I was like thinking, all our office is old. I mean, I'm the youngest guy. I'm one of the youngest guys in the office, and everybody else is like quite old. And I was thinking, what happens if I go back and some of them have got elderly parents, and it's like, what if I go back and give it to them? And it's like, could I live with myself? You know, if I'd spent an entire weekend having lots of fun, playing lots of board games, could I live with myself and knowing that I'd passed on a virulent disease to them and their relatives? And it was like, it would really depend on the game I played, to be perfectly honest, but we'll see if it was worth it.
So, yeah, I'm actually having to be extra careful, not for myself, because, I mean, I'm a teacher. We've just gone to digital days, so that's a whole experience of trying to figure out how to teach people a language over the internet, and they don't necessarily even have the equipment, there's no schedule, you have to just come up with activities. It's wild. That's another day. But I have to be very careful about what I bring home, so I've been very serious about isolating, because my boyfriend is someone who works in a group home and at a nursing home.
Wow.
He's a CNA. And so, you know, I am so proud of what he does. And, you know, not only is this his vocation, but if I get him sick and he doesn't show symptoms, you know, what have we done? There's a lot of moral weight to that. So I've been very good about staying inside, not going places I'm not supposed to go. I did venture out to H Mart to get meat because it's a Korean market, and that meant that all the food hoarders had not gone there because they're dumb.
And slightly racist.
Well, yes. That's part of being dumb.
That's what I find is like, over here, everybody's kind of gone for the pasta.
Yeah.
So I went to the gluten-free aisle, and they've cleared out all the pasta, but they hadn't taken the gluten-free gnocchi because they didn't know what that was. So I was like...
So one thing I've learned, though, is so I guess I could have thought of this, because I know that British people call the toilet the bog, but the term bog roll has just delighted me endlessly over the last few weeks. It's just so funny. But it's because I'd actually already heard the term bog troll for like the people who, you know, try to like spritz your hands and like hand you mints for tips in the public bathroom. Yeah. No, I mean, bog roll is definitely a thing, and it's like is it gone a little bit out of fashion? I don't know. It depends. I think it's a kind of it's who you're speaking to, and whether or not you want to impress them. You know, if you were going if you were, you know, somebody, you know, who is introducing yourself to your partner's parents for the first time, and if you did excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, and you found you were caught short, you're probably gonna say, you know, you're gonna tap on the door, kind of, Yeah.
Excuse me, do you have any toilet paper?
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna, kind
Hey,
of
toss me
slam
a
the door.
bog roll!
Oi, mate! Give us, got a bog roll, Dennis?
It does sound so disrespectful. I think that's what I like so much about it, is that it sounds rude. But it's for like it's a completely normal household object, but it just sounds so rude to say. I think that's why I like it so much. It's not actually inappropriate, but it sounds like it might be. I think that's why I like it.
Completely. It sounds like bog roll's green. Let's face it. If somebody gives you a roll of bog roll, it's green. Here you go, it's a bog. But if somebody, I know somebody referred to it as toilet tissue.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah.
Toilet tissue.
It's just very delicate,
They used to lift their pinky when they wiped.
Yes, they used to.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Pop. Oh no, I've done a tummy shame. Who's in the toilet? It's Mama.
Oh my god. But yeah, there's definitely something.
If you leave it long enough, she'll do God Save the Queen.
So, one thing I've been making lots of jokes about because I'm a Latin teacher is, and you've taken Latin, you know this, is that
yeah,
I mean, what do we need toilet paper for? You just need a shared sponge on a stick.
I know.
Like, so in Roman public latrines, they just, like, had a bucket with some water in and, like, a sponge on a stick, and everybody used the same sponge. We've come a long way, people.
I don't know, I think we're on our way back to that when people are just, like, going, yes, I utterly need this week. And it's like, what are you going to be doing with these 27 rolls of toilet paper, you disgusting man? It's just, there is the danger, though, if you've got the sponge on a stick. If you take that to the wrong party and they're having fondue, that's a whole different...
Oh, no. Well, did you know that people used to fight for the rights to clean out ancient public toilets? So they wanted to collect human excrement so they could sell it as fertilizer. Because if it was a public toilet, you had, like, higher quality crap. Because somebody who had a richer diet might have gone in there. So you collect it and you use it in the fields, which is, like, horrific to us. But
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it worked.
Oh, all you can eat Thursdays. That would have been interesting. But I mean, there was that thing about the saying about I brought this up a little about not having a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
And that was because people used to take urine to the tannery and get money, and that's what the really, really poorest people do. So we've got all these things that we've got to look forward to when society
just backtracks.
Kind of starts its inevitable.
Forget plasma donations.
Inevitable break.
Just go have a drink. Down. Go to the Fuller.
Get caught short with the toilet tissue at the other side. God save the Queen, kind of thing.
I gotta tell you though, it makes me wonder, like, how much soap do people think they need, even for like 3 or 4 months worth of soap? Like,
how disgusting as a kind of an entire race were we before that we weren't using that amount of soap?
Right.
I mean, how often were people not washing their hands? I mean, were they kind of hanging just not, that'll be good, and I said that 2020 will be remembered for being the year that the cases of stomach viruses, colds, and other diseases just like fell off the chart because everybody's all of a sudden kind of washing their hands.
At the same time, things now are better than they've ever been. Like, think about it. People in earlier times used to have to cut an orange in half if they were rich enough to buy an orange and hold it under their nose so they wouldn't smell like themselves and the people around them. So you actually needed to, like, apply direct access nasal protection because everyone smelled so bad. I mean, people used to, like, the whole family used the same bath water. Or, like, you know, if you go to Roman bathhouses, they're like, oh, the Romans were so clean, how hygienic, blah, 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 blah. But would you want to be the last person to get in the hot water that day? I think not. Oh. So... Unless
there was bonus toenails.
Oh.
Toenail clippings.
But
that's just, you gotta get your calcium somewhere.
Of course. But... You know, even now, like, we're laughing about how gross everybody is, right? But, like, it could be worse. At some point in history, it was a lot worse. So,
it was a lot worse.
In the event of total societal collapse, we got a lot to look forward to.
I am personally looking forward to all these people kind of gently realizing that they're going to have to live off pasta and tomato sauce for the next 6 weeks because they realized they couldn't cook. So there's that kind. I just couldn't believe it. It's like I just went in because I went in today just to pick up a couple of things because I've only been going in and picking in a couple of things, and depending on what you want to get, there's still plenty of stuff there. It's just you just need to not be wanting to just have something that you cook in half an hour in an oven, kind of thing. So we've got plenty of stuff to kind of keep us going. Yeah. I am. Are you gonna? I mean, I take it. Is it just going to be business as usual for you with regards to content? Are you just going to still be putting the stuff out there? Because I question myself as to whether I should be taking kind of like a break, because I know that things, and I told you this in the kind of like your green room. Is that things are getting rescheduled and cancelled all the time. I mean, I've had 2 people already that have just, have said, I think I'm gonna have to cancel or push back the launch of the Kickstarter. Yeah. Therefore, there's no point in me guesting on the show. Or I've had other people that just said, look, can we just move it back because my life is just, I've Will Smithed it and my life has just turned upside down. Yeah. So, are you going to continue with the content? Do you see it as a duty just to kind of have things steady as she goes kind of thing, Captain?
I think, if anything, I'm actually going to try to make more during this time. Oh. Partially because I'm home, and what else am I going to do? It makes me feel like I'm doing something. Like, I'm a worker by nature. So if I don't feel productive, I get really unhappy, and I don't feel as well, and I just kind of start to wilt. So I have to have little projects to do, and like, what better than the project that I've already spent years of my life on, my YouTube channel. Also because, like, we're doing this, I haven't done that many interviews in a long time. I finally got my updated laptop and I have Ecamm Live again. And like, what better time to reach out and talk to people than when you can't leave the house? I also think that having things that are consistent and still business as usual is good for me, because it makes me feel less panicky. And I think it's good for people. Like, I'm not a huge channel, but there are people who watch my channel and actually seem to enjoy the things that I make. And if it makes anybody feel better to see, like, oh, Davidson's still out there, put up a video, then I think that's a good thing. And actually, I've been wanting to work on my Latin channel for a while, and I might take the time to do that. Actually, so please, all the gods, let GameStop be open on Friday. I need to go pick up some groceries that will hopefully exist. I'm doing curbside pickup, so I don't go in the store. And then I want to go to GameStop, and I want to get the copy of Animal Crossing that I pre-ordered.
Wow.
Because I want it really bad. Because not only do I want to play it, so maybe I won't be making content for this channel for a while. But I actually think Animal Crossing has great potential for... I got a capture card and did like a complete playthrough of the Untitled Goose Game and voiced it over in Latin. Yeah. So what I've been waiting for is Animal Crossing, because you can make videos about animals, neighbors, the house, furniture, fishing, museums, like all those different little things. They make really cool little one-off videos that, and now in this age of digital teaching, I could actually use. So I think I'm going to spend some time kind of developing some of those materials and thinking about where I want to go with that, because it's a project that I started. I haven't had as much time as I want. I teach Latin in a somewhat unusual way. We speak it, we write it, we hear it. It's a very active thing in my classroom. And without that activity, it's making me a little crazy anyway. So I'll be thinking about that. Actually, this is so stupid, but I bought a whole bunch of different kinds of cat treats, and I'm going to, hopefully in Latin, have my cats test them so we can practice words like prefer, better, good, not good, but in the context of something that is like compelling, because everybody likes cat videos, and that entertains me. Like, it just fits my sense of humor. And so I just want to make stupid stuff while I can. Like, I kind of feel like the best thing about the internet is we can all comfort each other by just making dumb crap for each other to enjoy. Like, because I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am, but not that kind, right? And so, like, I can't... You know, I mean, I teach Latin, and the things that I do, I have a board game channel. I clearly exist for my own enjoyment, and then hopefully also for the enjoyment of other people, because it ain't practical. It's there for enrichment, and I sort of feel like that's what I need to keep providing, because that's what I'm good at doing. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna... I think I'm the same. It's going to depend on... I could say, it depends on guests, but I mean... I think people keep continually telling me, well, there's so much stuff you've got out there already that there's a backlog that people can check anyway.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. I think if it depends on the circumstances and it depends what happens, but I'd like to continue to kind of keep going and keep speaking to people and keep putting things out there. I think that people are going to get stir crazy. I don't think there's going to be an issue with folk going to guest, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to be working at home in isolation. Exactly. If anything, I could potentially have more guests.
Right.
If anything, Tom Vassell might say yes. That's not true. It's not like I've asked him. It's not like I've went, hey Tom, do you want to go on the podcast? I don't think I've ever asked him.
You know what? You should. You should. Tom is actually a really funny, nice person. Like, and I mean, I don't say that like I'm surprised. I just mean that, you know, he's so busy and he is so important to our industry. And just getting to have a normal conversation with him, which I haven't done until maybe within the last 6 months, was really cool. He's a really cool person. You should ask. He might say yes, and then it would be fun.
Yeah, I get the impression that what you see is what you get with him. That there isn't kind of like the Tom Vassell personality and then Tom Vassell, you know, he's not like he sits down, takes his hat off and sticks his string vest and on and goes, right, let's watch Stage of Our Lives.
No, I think that's actually what he likes to wear. Yeah, I think that's just really him. But it's just, you know, as your people say,
you know, he's a pretty chill guy.
He is just what it says on the tin.
It's just what it says.
But you know what? I'm actually like that. I endeavor to be that way myself, right? I try not to be. Honestly, every version of me that you see on YouTube is authentically me. It might be like a more professional or a less professional. Like, and let's just say that we had the probably very telling juxtaposition of reviews and poop in this conversation. But like, that's both me. It's fine.
I think it's difficult to do something like this and continually keep up the kind of the act kind of thing. I think you get to the point it becomes exhausting, and I think that's why some people kind of drop away, is that I'm not saying people are not genuine. What I say is to kind of go in and say, right, I'm going to do this, and this is going to be my YouTube type character, or this is going to be the person that I'm going to try and come across when I'm doing my media. And I think it can become really exhausting.
Yeah.
After a while.
Yeah.
And I think the people that kind of last the longest are just like, well, this is me. This is what I do. And if you like it, then you like it. And if you don't like it, then you kind of don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to be, you know, as somebody who's the age that I am, I'm pretty concerned what's happening.
You're a spring chicken.
I'm only a spring chicken because I'm able to run quite fast from the axe, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, you know, it's an interesting time. It's kind of like I was just saying this just now to my partner, was like my son is a little bit anxious, but he's not sure about what he's anxious to be about. And I says, well, it's not like I can turn around and say, when there was really bad snow or really bad rain, or even if there was bad case of chickenpox going about, or if anything like that. It's not like you can turn around and say, oh, I remember when I was I remember when I was your age and there was really, really bad snow, and don't worry about it, it's fine. It's not like I can turn around and go, yeah, I remember when I was younger and there was a worldwide plague apocalypse type of event kind of going on. And it's kind of like, I think it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess the only thing I can be is just kind of, I guess I could run around with my arms in the air.
Yeah.
But all that means is that I'm going to smell what my underarms smell like, and I don't want to do that. Or I can just get on with stuff and see where we go. But not kind of like get on with stuff and ignore it. Kind of get on with stuff, but say, okay, is your job at the moment to hide away, or is your job at the moment to continue? This is going to sound so big-headed, but it's like what you said. You've got a channel where people kind of watch and pay attention to what you're doing and like what you do and subscribe to you and look forward to seeing your videos.
Yeah.
And is it kind of like your duty to try and make sure that you're kind of keeping that normality for people as much as possible, so that when they refresh their YouTube list, you're there, or like if they're refreshing their podcast feed, that I'm there and they can go, all right, here's another episode, just so they can tune out for like an hour or 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever.
The other thing that I think this just kind of brings in a sharper relief for me that I've thought about a lot in the past few months is, I'm a person who's actually pretty anxious and like prone to melancholy. I mean, it doesn't always seem it, right? Because I'm usually smiling, but I have to fight for that sometimes. And I feel like, life is going to throw bad things at you, period. It's going to happen. It could be really, really bad. It could be mildly bad. But I sometimes feel like the most kind of rebellious thing you can do is find joy and just keep finding it, no matter what. And so I'm trying to bring that optimism to this situation, because if I don't, like, what is there if you're just going to be miserable? And that doesn't mean like doing stupid stuff or being like, well, I'll go out anyway. It's just trying to find things to appreciate, even in a less than ideal situation.
Yeah. No, it sounds like words to live your life by.
Ugh.
And
do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I mean, it's difficult to kind of get out there and go, yep, I'm gonna go on with it, I think, at the moment, but we can just play games. I'm potentially, I guess, and probably my partner, my wife's dreading this, is me turning around and saying, right, if you're bored and we've got nothing to do, I have a cupboard full of board games.
Does she not like to game?
That we can play.
Uh-oh.
Really.
You gotta learn how to solo game, my man.
No. That sounds a completely different thing. No, but there's that opportunity now to kind of like jump straight in there with Through the Ages and all these lovely simple games. I'm going to start off slow and I'm going to build it up.
Okay.
We've got plenty of time if we go into self-isolation.
So
let's start off with something simple.
I bought my boyfriend something. I really hope it's going to work. We'll find out. I bought this and it came in the mail today.
Wow.
Right? It was like $13. I was like, I can take a $13 risk on a 2-player game. Of course.
Yeah.
Because maybe we'll have time to play it. Maybe. I mean, I'll still play solo. Honestly, I think I scratch a different itch with, I like to play socially and I like to play solo. I like them both, and they are a little different. But it'd be really nice to, like, take some time to include my partner more in a hobby that dominates so much of my life. So.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I'm kind of conscious and worried about is that there is some people that are going to the board game group that the level of interaction that they get at the group is in some ways like a relief for them.
Yeah.
That they're not living their best life, and that they come along on the Friday to be that person who's amongst people that they understand and they can chat with and talk with. And I think there's I think it's like, that's not exclusive to board games, but I think there's a lot of people who suffer from a bit of social anxiety or suffer from a bit of, social communication issues, and board games are a way that allows them to get together with groups of friends and play something and kind of reach out and talk to people and understand. And I think we need to bear that in mind, that being conscious of actually just reaching out to those people who would normally play games and just make sure that everybody's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not something you generally ask. If you didn't see somebody at the club, you're maybe going to say, I didn't see you last week, are you okay, kind of thing. And I think if this is going to be something that we're not going to be able to gather for 4 or 5 months at a time,
right.
I don't know people's circumstances, if they're living alone or if they're living with parents or if they're, housemates or married or whatever, but some of them, they could be going through stuff that the board game club kind of helps them get through.
Yeah.
And they kind of look forward to. And I think that's an important thing as we talk about, board games being a community. And I think we're going to make sure we try and maintain that as best as we can.
Yeah.
I think kind of going forward.
Like, if we say we're a community, we should be a community.
Yeah. Regardless of whether meeting together or not. I think that some people kind of really like the chance to kind of sit down with somebody else and just, have general chit chat, because they need that, because everything else to them at the moment isn't the best thing in the world, and it's one of the things they rely on. So I think that's one of the things it's all about. I mean, for me, it's like, I like to play games. Yeah, great. But for some people, I really like to gather around with my mates because life isn't treating me as well, or life is treating me as well, and this is just something that's a little bit of an extra icing on the cake on top of it. So it's kind of like two things. I think that's something we have to be conscious of.
Yeah, I mean, I read like an extrovert. I actually am introverted. So if you come check on me in 2 weeks and nobody's talked to me, I'll probably be okay. But yeah, not everybody's like that. And I think you're absolutely right to bring up the aspect of community of, the people you play with. I mean, are they really just people you play with?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Family.
On that note,
Family.
I know it's late for you.
On that note.
Yes. So, play games. Talk to your friends. Find ways to play online. Where can we find you if people want to bother you on the internet?
Okay.
Ooh, that was a good crack.
I like that. Well, you can find me on all the different places. I say worn out faces bright and early for the daily races, because I'm on, you search for We're Not Wizards on Google and you'll find us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and we've got our blog, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. We've got our website, which is we'renotwizards.com. You can find us on all the different podcast catchers of choice, your Apple Podcasts and such like. I didn't talk about what we do. We just basically, it's a podcast where I talk to people, and sometimes cardboard comes up, and sometimes it's just like when me and Ben Maddox get together, it's just two old men shouting at the sky, being angry about stuff.
But yes,
I have a lot of fun.
I can tell everyone here, it is good listening. I listen to your podcast and I enjoy it, which is why I want to just hang out tonight. And of course, if you're watching this video, you've already found me here at Beyond Solitaire. Happy gaming, everybody.
Yeah. Goodbye.